Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. So today once again I bring you something different. It is a chess 960 event, a chess 960 match from the championship showdown in St. Louis of 2018. This is a game between Levon, Aronian and Leinier Dominguez. Sorry for the pronunciation. And it is quite an interesting game. It is, as I said, something totally different from the usual games that I've been analyzing. As you can see, the setup of the pieces, for those of you who don't know, from chess 960 is in random order. This was the position from the first day, and as you can see, it is not really easy even to decide what will be your first move. But Aronian decides to play c4, and the game goes on. So no openings, no nothing. And Kasparov said one interesting thing to just maybe guide you a little bit into this world of chess 960. It is mostly in this type of chess, you don't really have time to prepare, since they get the position for that day and then they play against the opponent. They don't really have time to prepare, so it's mostly about the patterns. So recognizing patterns is something that you will mostly learn by solving puzzles, trying to give checkmates 1, 2, 3, 4, a couple of moves, using different types of tactics, learning about strategy, and definitely, yeah, those patterns to see what is the best situation. And that is very important, especially in this event, because they are playing a rapid and a blitz. A rapid and blitz game. So the rapid game is played in half an hour plus, I think, 10 seconds per move, and I think blitz is 5 minutes plus also some increment. So not a lot of time actually to think about too deeply into the position, so it's mostly about recognizing patterns. Okay, enough of the word pattern. What has happened here after the move c4 has been played? Aronian is attacking this pawn on h7. So another typical thing that you can do after first move, and already Dominguez has to think about how to prevent some threats. He did play knight to g6, but also if you think about it, you could actually go immediately from the first move, go sacrifice the pawn and maybe go for some very active development. For example, if e5, you have to play queen to h7, so, and if white plays queen to h7, you have this knight to g6, but now it's a different situation. The threat is a rook to h8, this queen is already trapped. So you have to play it like something like queen to h3, but then also d5 comes in handy. And this is an attack with a tempo to the queen, where you can also threaten to capture the pawn. But the other thing is, both of the bishops are now alive and the game continues. So chess 960, quite an interesting stuff. So thinking from the first move. But okay, Dominguez decided to not go for the pawn sacrifice immediately. He plays knight to g6. d4, as it is in standard chess, you want to occupy the main squares in the center, because from there you go to the attack. Castles and castles. And one thing for those of you who don't know, in chess 960, it is the same rule. If you move your king, you cannot castle, but if you have a space between the king and the rook empty, it is the same rule that applies even if the king is one square to the rook. They can actually exchange places, and this is a small castle. The same idea would apply if there wouldn't be no pieces on the other side of the board, and that the king could actually go to the big side castle. So after this castle, Dominguez tries to break the center with e5. Pawn captures on e5, knight captures on e5, and now bishop to c2. It is move number 5, and already Aronian is threatening to capture on h7, and there is some attack going on. So h6 stopping that, and now b3. The idea being bishop to b2, and with these two bishops having a very nice strong attack right from the opening, you could say, in this chess 960 game. So Dominguez thought that probably he doesn't want to play passively anymore. He needs to open up the position in order to just get out something from it. So he plays b5. And b5 is a nice move because it threatens to capture a pawn, but also exchange queens, because he is already under attack and he would really like to exchange queens. Aronian doesn't want to do that, so he captures on b5. Queen captures on b5, and now knight to g3. The idea is being knight to f5, and then already the knight is eyeing these two pawns in front of the king. Bishop to b2, white is better in this position. So d5, bishop now eyes the f5 square, and rook to d1. Now we have c6, and it seems that black for the moment has occupied a lot of space in the center, and he can continue with the game. If here, for example, you see this bishop to f5 was played, but if, for example, you would play bishop to a3, trying to get this rook, a simple bishop to e7 stopped that threat. So for now, nobody did lose any material. Bishop to f5 played with the sole idea, if bishop captures, knight is coming on f5, and as I've said, having a knight so close to the king already is a very good step towards a victory. Bishop to e6, Dominguez doesn't want to exchange bishops, but actually what he did here, he did allow Aronian to proceed with activity, because now bishop to b2 is played, and now the white is attacking this knight, which is undefended since the bishop is on e6. Queen to b8 defends the knight, and now e4, opening up the position with the ideas of putting the rooks on e-file, and then the attack will really go underway. Knight to b6 defending on d5, and now knight to c2, idea being to enter with the knight through these two squares. c5 not allowing knight to d4, and now pawn captures on d5. And already you see here that black is in a lot of trouble. Just playing normal moves, active moves, white has managed to open up the position, put the pieces on a very good squares, and now the rook will also come to e1, while on the other hand, still these rooks just look cramped. The bishop is on d8, the queen is on b8. Not looking good for black. So the idea was probably to maybe even give up this light square bishop, allow knight to f5, and then try to do something about this position. But okay, here you have two options. Knight to d5 is a better option, which unfortunately for Dominguez wasn't played by him in the game, which runs into a move queen to a1. So now this knight is attacked twice. You have to think about defending it. Bishop to f6 is the best move, but now f4 is an idea which would force this knight to move and then exchange a lot of pieces. Knight to g6, and now in intermediate, what Aronian had to see is a rook to d5. Why rook to d5? Because now after, bishop to b2, queen to b2, and bishop captures on d5, knight will come on h5. And here the thing is that this queen to g7 is a very big threat of actually giving checkmate. If you play f6, then simply bishop to g6 captures the knight. The material is equal, but as you can see, these pieces of white are much better positioned than black's. Okay, not just the material is equal, white is better in material having the two pieces for the rook. So that is one option. The other option is playing knight to e5, and of course not now capture, because after queen to e5 black can simply exchange and avoid this queen attacking on g7, but actually playing an even more interesting move, which is knight to e3, attacking this bishop, and when the bishop moves, for example to b7, then a knight to g4, still threatening to capture this knight and not allowing knight to capture because queen to g7 is checkmate. g6 cannot stop these threats because pawn can capture on e5, and after pawn captures on h5, knight to f6, and you can see black is not in a good position. He will be checkmated soon. So where I started all this beautiful variation is actually here after pawn captured on d5. Here Dominguez actually played bishop to d5, which led to a forced couple of moves by Aronian. First knight to e3, having a double attack on the bishop. Bishop has to move, bishop to b7, and now bishop to h7 check. King to h8 and bishop to e4 back. So now this bishop is attacked. You have to either play bishop to a6 like Dominguez played, or exchange bishops and allow knight to enter and be centralized, threatening knight to d6. But bishop to e6 was played, a6, and rook from f to e1. c4, and okay, now in this position, quite honestly, white is much better. Even though material is equal, the threat of these two knights to actually come on f5 and on h5 is unstoppable. Having this bishop on this diagonal and the queen being able to play to a1, releasing these two rooks, just attacking, and all of this arrows that have been played on leeches point out that white is clearly winning this game, even though material material is essentially equal. And Dominguez doesn't really have too many options. He can think about playing some defensive move, but he decided to play c4, maybe try to open up the position. But now Aronian simply plays knight from e to f5 and threatens to capture either here or here, do something like that, and then with the bishop on this diagonal attack the king. f6 was played to stabilize the position, but simply knight to h4. Now this square is wide open for the taking. You will take the knight on e5. Dominguez tries to defend, playing knight from b to d7, but Aronian makes a grandmaster move, or even a master move, plays a rook captures on d7, sacrifices the rook, which forces this knight to capture on d7. After which knight to g6 was played, and it was in this position that Dominguez resigned the game. And why did he resign? Well, quite honestly, it is the best decision, because in a couple of moves you will either lose a lot of material or you will even get checkmated. So if you play king to h7, this quite clearly comes into a double check from a knight to f8, and then you can also capture it on d7, losing a lot of material for black. So you don't want to play here, but if you play king to g8, then you have bishop to d5. And if you don't decide to sacrifice this rook and this rook, and you want to play a king to h7, then a knight to f8 is a threat of double check from the knight and the queen. King has to go back to h8, and then queen to h7 is checkmate. So a very nice play by Aronian, having that kind of an attack after a couple of moves from the chess 960 games. As you can see, everything is possible, and I would definitely urge you, if you haven't played chess 960 ever in your life, definitely play it, even by playing 15 minutes a game, to actually go deeper into understanding of the pieces and what can they actually do. And of course, be cautious from first move, because as you can see here in this game, c4, and already the queen is attacking this pawn on h7, making it vulnerable to capture. Okay, that being said, maybe I will cover some more games from this championship showdown in St. Louis. And yeah, if you want me to comment on some games, or if you saw some more interesting, one of more interesting games, even more interesting than this game, please do share in the comments down below. That being said, I would like to thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.